So the Springboks have just announced their lineup for the upcoming match of the Rugby Championship, taking on Argentina. And this side looks just as dangerous as it did for the second match up against New Zealand. Just a couple little switches, but overall going with what worked in that last contest. And it also consists of an extremely strong bench with a couple returns along the way as well. But jumping straight into it, front row is identical to what we saw up against the All Blacks. Oxenshad number 1, Malcolm Marx at number 2, and Thomas Tutoy slotting in as the number 3. These men are dominant in the front row, adding a lot to the scrums. The line-out game of the Springboks with Malcolm Marx at the helm can also be extremely strong, but Oxenshad, people are expecting him to get a rest at some point, but perhaps if he plays well here and the Springboks get themselves the win, maybe match 2 is when we do see the Ox rested. In the locking duo, it is Eben Etzebeth, so that is a change compared to what we saw in the last Springbok test. That is due to the injury of Ludiaga. Unfortunately, he will be out for quite some time, but Eben Etzebeth, I mean, if there's anyone to bring in for a home game in Durban, it is certainly that man. He partners with Ruan Nokia as the number 5. That is a dangerous duo, and I'm sure that the Argentines, Pedro Rubiolo, Franco Molina, 2 men who have been doing extremely well for Los Pumas so far, they will have their hands full up against this lock and duo. In the loose forward trio, no changes from last game. Sio Kolesi as the number 6, Peter Steftotoy slotting in at number 7, and then Jasper Visa as that number 8. He was immense up against New Zealand, brings that physicality and aggression that sometimes just can't be taught. So having him out there, maybe going head-to-head with Pablo Matera, that is going to be an absolutely awesome one to keep an eye on for this match. Overall, though, a very strong 4-pack for the South Africans here, and the backline is just as electric as it was in the last match, with just a little switch due to an injury that we did recently see. In the 19 combination, it will be identical. Kobus Reinach as the number 9, with Sasha Feinberg Ngumezulu slotting in at 10. He did have to make his way from the field a little bit early up against the All Blacks. That was due to a head knock, but he's fully recovered. And this duo on attack will be extremely dangerous up against Los Pumas. I know that the Springboks going into this game will want to chase that bonus point. They have got a couple points to try and catch up with the Australians. So a big win here over the Pumas with an attacking 19 combo could be just the way for RASSIE to get those points back. In the midfield combination, Damien Dialendi as the number 12. Last match, it was Damien Valimza, but due to the fullback injury of Apelele Fasi, it does bring Valimza into that 15 jersey. So Dialendi slotting in at 12, and Kanan Moody once again as that number 13. In the back 3, out on the left wing, Ethan Hooker getting some more minutes for the Boks. Number 14, Cheslin Colby, who did do extremely well up against New Zealand. And number 15, like I said, Valimza, after what was his best Springbok game we have probably ever seen from that man, thoroughly deserves some more starting minutes, and he gets them in the 15 jersey for this matchup. Off the bench, it is once again the 5-3 split for South Africa. Jan Hendrik Wessels, he will be slotting in as the 16, so no Manus van der Merwe, as well as no Bongi Mbonambi for this match. I do have to say that's probably the biggest surprise in terms of selection that we have seen from RASSIE here. Number 17, Boan Fenta, and number 18, Wilco Lowe. So scrums are going to be a danger all throughout this 80 minutes, whether you are the starting pack for the Argentines or the men making their way off of the bench. It is going to be a big physical forward battle. But that is exactly the game that Argentina also love to play, which is why this match is going to be so awesome. Number 19, Arges Snyman. He managed to score himself 1 try up against New Zealand last match. He almost did get the double. Also got plenty of minutes due to the early injury of Diacha, but instead making his way off the bench for this game. Quagga Smith in the number 20 jersey. Number 21, the injury return of Morne van den Berg. He's been out for quite some time. He's only got himself the 3 caps, but he actually was in some great form before his injury. For South Africa, he was actually playing in the July internationals, looking pretty solid, so hopefully he can find his feet again, do just as well. For the Boks here, number 22, Mani Libbok. Sensational game off the bench up against the ABs, especially with that injury of Sasha Feinberg Ngumezulu. They needed him to step up, and that is exactly what Mani Libbok did. His kicking's come a long way. Such a dangerous threat on attack, and throughout the second half of this contest could really be one of the superstars out there on the field for South Africa. And then number 23, it is Andre Esterhuizen in front of his home crowd in Durban. You could argue that this is a 6-2 split, depending on whereabouts we see Andre Esterhuizen play, but more than likely he will be slotting into that back line and will be a very dangerous ball runner later on in the match. But nonetheless, that is the Springboks starting lineup, ladies and gentlemen. It is being announced relatively early, just like normal, from RASSIE, which means we have to wait a few more days before we find out who Argentina have selected. But of course, when we do, we will have the preview coming out on the channel, also doing the live commentary for the match this weekend. It should be an epic one. Before that, we've also got New Zealand versus Australia, so be sure to check that out as well. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and also let me know what you think of this lineup in the comments down below, and I will see you all for the next one.